Hello everyone and welcome to Grand Bend Motorplex for the second national race of the 2018 season for the Lick-Mo-Moly Pro Sportbike class. I'm your series announcer Frank Wood. Today's race is brought to you by Dalton Timmis Insurance, Honda, Magneti Marelli offered by Mopar, Drift, and Dunlop.
Overcast skies threatening. We've had some showers here at Grand Bend Motorplex just outside of Grand Bend, but our top pro superbike racers in Canada are heading out for just over one warm-up lap. Jeff Williams and Samuel Trepanier on their BMWs, along with Ben Young and that Honda of Mr. Nickerson leading the field, Frank.
Well, it was just last year we made our first visit to this venue, so this will be our second time here at Grand Bend and the second race of the 2018 season. And Colin, you mentioned the weather. One of the other things that we're dealing with today is some pretty brisk wind.
Yeah, the conditions are not ideal, but they make it a little easier for things like tire choice. Last year, the riders didn't have a lot of information. We had extremely warm conditions. It was tough to predict how the tires would last, and that was an important factor in what turned out to be a little bit of an unusual race, an exciting and very entertaining race. Obviously, Ben Young, who brought the red flag out early with his fall, was not satisfied with his results, but Ben Young is definitely a threat. He is on pole today.
Well, he went very well last year as well, up until that mishap, and he and Bodie Eadie fighting for the race lead, and Bodie ended up with, of course, a very important win, I thought, at the time for Yamaha.
Yeah, definitely, and we're up to row 2 now. Looking at the grid, Michael Leon, one of the top privateers on his Royal Distributing BMW, but Stephen Nickerson, who is not a regular on the series, has competed in a number of our support classes and is the top Honda rider, 4th fastest at his home track. Really good effort and one of the most distinctive motorcycles in the series.
And there's your front row with Ben Young on pole position for the first time in a long time. Jordan Zoke has not enjoyed that privilege.
And here we come. This is an unusual situation here at Grand Bend. They actually start from a portion of the track that isn't used for anything but the start in the middle of the technical infield section. So this gives them kind of a straight shot and spreads the field out so it's a little bit less drama, hopefully in the opening lap.
Well, they're actually heading away from the grandstands with this, Colin. So when they come around for that first, I guess you would call it half a lap, really, they come past the grandstands at full speed. It's almost like a rolling start for the fans.
We were looking backwards from the drift camera on board Jordan Zoke's BMW. There we see it again, Nickerson and Leon on the second row. You can see Jeff Williams in the middle of the third. 3x2 here, a narrower grid than we had at our opener at Shannonville, and now we're under starters orders, and we're going to see who wins the drag race amongst the BMWs and the Honda.
Well, the riders are right now, they're focusing on that Pro 6 cycle starting light, and of course, all those lights will come on. That lets them know that we're just about ready to go. When those lights go off, the clutches will come out, and they have done just that. They have launched, and it looks like Ben Young has got oh, look at him pull the front wheel, and Jordan Zoke takes the race lead, and I think it's because Ben Young pulled that wheel up.
And then Trepanier's in second, Nickerson, I believe, is in 4th.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think that's Trevor Daly and Mitch Card battling for 5th or 6th, so a good start by a number of our front runners.
One of the things I like so much about Stevie Nickerson, other than the fact that he's a really good racer, is the fact that he brings a Honda into the fold.
Yeah, and here we are coming off the back straight into the carousel early on our first lap, and already Jordan and Ben, who are expected to go at it hard for the win here, because Ben is definitely challenging, and here we're actually now starting officially the race.
Exactly,
they just score past the scoring beam, so now we can get going. Now the laps are counting and the scoring is active. And look at that, Trepanier trying something different and putting some pressure on Young.
That was similar to the line that Ben Young took on Bodie Eadie last year and ended up on his backside. Trepanier rather experimenting with that outside line. I just love these drift cameras, Colin. They just pick up all the action. So cool. We're with Ben Young right now looking back at Samuel Trepanier. There's Zoke with the race lead.
Heading onto this little short straight, then there's a sweeper and a couple of sets of double S's. And the drift cameras really give you a good perspective, almost a racer's eye view, and honestly this is one of the best tracks for the drift because of the stop and go nature. They're right on top of each other, so you really get a feel for what it's like to have a 200 horsepower motorcycle on the back straight here at the former airfield circuit.
Nickerson, Trepanier, Young, and Zoke running in that order from 4th to 1st, and they are getting some distance from the rest of the Wolves.
And everybody's just trying to feel out what the decisions they've made in terms of setup. Of course, the bikes are full of fuel at this point, and nobody wants to go too hard on those Dunlop slicks, although we're not expecting any tire drama. But I think at this point, Jordan's comfortable leading. Last year, he broke free and probably overdid it a bit, so this year I think he's going to pace himself for as long as he can until he sees a front wheel. He's going to hit the number on that lap timer. His onboard timer will tell him how he's doing. He has a number in his mind for how he wants to pace the race.
Number of fans turning up to this race considerably larger than last year. Of course, last year our first visit to this venue. This year the word has gotten out, and we have a really good turnout. And one of the neat things for the fans is the fact that one of the most exciting portions of this race course is right in front of the gallery. And
here we are back onto the back straight once again, using all the track. But when we saw the shot before we started going on board with the drifts, and Nickerson is not fading away too fast. He's not right with the 3 BMWs, but he's a good fourth and showing lots of pace. So that fourth fastest in qualifying, which was a bit of a surprise. That's definitely a legitimate effort. He is capable of running. There you can see he's still in the back of that shot, but after that there is a big gap.
Yeah, the fast four have left a big distance between themselves and whoever's running in fifth right now. Having a look at Zoke now, and we're right into that area of the race course that I spoke about right now. You can see the fans in the background there, and the grandstand's just packed.
Now Jordan has never won here. He almost won, and he's got lots of pace. Ben Young almost won. Trepanier last year, this is one of the races where he started to show the form we saw late in the season. So really, of the bunch here, Trepanier and Nickerson are more unusually close to the front, and Trepanier, he's at that stage, his third year as a pro, where he needs to go from being fast at some tracks to trying to be fast and in the discussion with the leaders at all the tracks, and he is making those steps. Of course, at our last round at Shannonville, he had a pretty big crash in practice, and that set his whole effort way back.
Do you think that Ben Young taking the Dalton Timmis Insurance Super Pole has fired up Zoke? Or has it given Ben Young that inner fire to give him a win here today?
Well, I think it just reminds Jordan that he has to be careful, you know, that he can't take these things for granted. But here he is, you know, hatching it like an egg the way he so frequently does and controlling the pace. And I think it's, you know, it's up to Ben Young really to determine how hard he's willing to push. And Ben Young is a strategic rider. He's very, very smooth, accurate. Look at this on board of Trepanier, beginning to think maybe he'd like to have a crack at pushing Jordan.
I think
but yeah, Trepanier is more likely to make, of the three of them, to make that aggressive move. I don't mean overly aggressive. I just mean we've seen when Trepanier is comfortable, he really tries some things.
Yeah, quite so. Now Trepanier, looking back at round one, of course, he had a disaster at Shannonville, just about destroying that motorcycle and not coming away from there with his as good a results as we might have expected. So
yeah, he struggled. I believe he and Daly had a pretty good battle, and of course Daly's been off the tour for a bit. He's returned with that Kawasaki and doing a good effort, but kind of really a shoestring deal, whereas Trepanier has much more structure, and you know, Trepanier is anticipating being a front runner this season. At the tail end of last year at Mosport, he was a definite threat to Jordan. Now, as I said, he has to spread it out over the whole series and be in contention at all the different tracks. He doesn't like the tighter tracks. The faster, the better from his point of view. But if you want to win the title, you have to be fast everywhere. If you want to beat Jordan, you have to be really fast everywhere.
Yeah, and you better have a BMW as well. I was going to comment. Here we have 3 BMWs again. We've seen BMW dominate our podiums in Mopar CSBK racing. And you talked about Trevor being on a Kawasaki. We were referring to the Honda that Stevie Nickerson's riding, and I can't help but wonder how much better would those riders do if they had a BMW.
Well, and don't forget, Michael Leon and Jeff Williams have very, very strong BMW programs too, and there's no question the BMW is a little bit easier. Look at our fastest laps here, and Zoke's just slightly slower, a 10th than Young. Trepanier also, look at that, maybe he's just a little bit faster than those two, and maybe taking advantage of them pushing the wind a bit, and also seeing how they're choosing to ride the bikes and how their tires are behaving, giving him a little more confidence. But we're talking a 10th between the three of them. It's bordering meaningless really on this circuit.
On that board you also saw the 9th and 10th place runner Tommy Casas and Dylan Bauer, both those riders on 600cc motorcycles and doing a creditable job out there.
Well, and it used to be, we'd say, is, you know, it's good that they are racing and they're going to do reasonably well, but what seems to have happened lately is the 600s are able to perform much more consistently over the course of a Superbike race, and now they're getting to be a bit of a problem for some of the Superbike guys because those bikes are so good and so well balanced. So it's an interesting situation where sometimes some of the top 600 guys would bump up, sometimes they wouldn't, but now the top guys are taking it much more seriously.
Well, they're setting a vicious pace right now, and if you look up the straightaway now, yeah, I thought so. We're coming up on a slower rider already. We're running into traffic already.
And this is early on, and there are good places to pass here, but of course you don't always encounter them where you'd most like to. And look at this, the other two, you got to think that both Young and Trepanier have seen the lap driver and thought, okay, we need to be right with Jordan to see what happens,
Good
right?
point.
I want to capitalize.
Yeah, Trepanier looked like he was getting ready to put something on Young just there coming in through the carousel. He had the inside line, but decided not to give it a squirt.
And here's the spot where you do not want to come up on a lapper, and that's exactly what's happened. And this is very much one line.
Look out. Whoa, Zoke just about into the back end. I believe that is Marco Souza, if I'm not mistaken. Here we are on board with Ben Young. He's going to try and stay with Zoke, and Zoke got past, and Ben Young's been stalled. Young now has gotten free and clear. We're on board right now with Trepanier, and whoa, just about into the lapper there. He swung out to the left. He now is clear, but Zoke has got a bit of a gap here, Colin. He may be going for a ride. Yeah,
that did open it up just a little tiny bit, and what this will do now is this is serious pressure on Young and Trepanier to close the gap, and we got a waved yellow flag for something that's happened at the carousel, and this actually now looks like it's undone that little bit of an advantage that Jordan picked up. They've closed up a bit.
Good
so
point.
We're back in just about the same situation.
Suits me. Let's go on board with Ben Young once more on the Barry Trim and Mold Scott build. Oh, Ben Young hitting a bit of a dip there that I hadn't noticed in the final corner. Here we go into what I'll call corner number 1, right in front of the grandstands.
And this is the very technical stop and go section. It takes a lot of discipline, and you can see in the back of the shot, maybe 4.5 seconds back is Nickerson, so he's hanging in there in 4th, which is a really solid effort for a guy who's basically a rookie in the Superbike class.
I think Trepanier's got a plan here. I think he is hunting Ben Young. There's been a couple of times where he's had a good look and just hasn't twisted the throttle. He seems to be there, but is not making it happen.
It's an interesting situation. I don't think Ben is particularly worried about Trepanier, but Trepanier has, well, right here, he's in a perfect situation to work the slipstream, and we know in terms of power, these 3 bikes are quite evenly matched.
I love getting on board a Superbike and heading down a straightaway like that. We've gone to a steady yellow now, so whatever has gone wrong is not quite as serious as we would have thought, and this opens the race up again a bit more. Here goes Trepanier. No, didn't do it. Didn't do it that time.
And what he doesn't seem to be trying to do is what Bodie Eady made work there, where you go tight and then you let it drift wide, and he's not finishing the move. And maybe he's kind of practicing, getting his timing, trying to figure out how it will work to get by Ben. And don't forget, when you get by Young, there's almost no room to Jordan, so you don't want to stub your toe and trip.
Well, point being, Trepanier is a lot closer to Young than Young is to Zoke right now, and as I say, I've got a sneaking suspicion.
Really? You want to stick with this right now?
I've got a sneaking suspicion that Trepanier's got a game plan here, and Ben just doesn't seem to be able to keep pace with Jordan.
I'm sorry, I still think Zoke's the guy with the game plan, right? Nobody's put a wheel up there. He's running the lap times he wants to. So far, he's controlled this race, and we know that Jordan has an unbelievable history, an unparalleled success in winning these races, usually from the front.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, the man with the plan is Jordan Zoke until proven otherwise.
He's got a good enough memory to remember what happened here last year, and he's not going to let it happen again. Holy cow, Trepanier was right on top of Ben Young at that point.
Yeah, Trepanier's gobbling up in the brakes into the carousel, but I don't see how that's going to turn into a pass when you're at full lean unless something horrible happens. So I think he's exploiting, figuring out the spots where he has speed, but you got to turn that into a spot that could be a pass.
Oh my goodness, he came so close to Ben Young's rear wheel there. This is great stuff. I love this Superbike racing. Now on board with Ben Young once more, looking through the drift camera right back at Samuel Trepanier, the fast man from Mosport last year. And here he goes. No, getting left. I thought for sure. I keep waiting for Trepanier to make a move.
Yeah, well, look at this camera. These guys are almost on top of each other. There's not a lot to choose. What is that? 3 bike lengths from first to second, and a bike length and a half from second to third. So the slightest hiccup could change the whole thing. But no hiccups, no passes so far. Nothing has actually happened.
Ben Young now closing in a bit on Jordan Zoke as they both. Oh, here comes Trepanier again. He's got the inside line. Nope. Can't quite get the job done. What's it going to take for Trepanier to get Young here? Now Young pulling away from Trepanier.
Well, Young, pretty soon, we're at halfway. So pretty soon Young is going to start trying something. He's not going to be satisfied to just follow this closely. So now it's time to come up with a plan. So Trepanier's most obvious chance is Ben tries something, it doesn't work, and he pounces. And of course, we're going to encounter much more traffic.
Oh yeah,
and last year traffic was a challenge here. Yeah. And some spots where you get it, it's no trouble at all. Other spots, you one line it for for half the lap. And who knows what will play out here. But honestly, Frank, there's really, in terms of pace, these guys all look super similar.
Yeah, just like mirroring one another. And to give credit to Stevie Nickerson, I know he's still running in 4th spot. I caught a glimpse of him there. Our top 3 guys have really gone for a Sunday afternoon ride by themselves. And Nickerson was the only one that could stay with these 3 guys. And now he's fallen a bit off pace, which is a good thing. He's planning on bringing that thing home upright.
And by the way, this looked like the first time Ben Young ran it into the carousel as hard as he could. So Jordan didn't seem to do well on the brakes that time. It seemed much more evenly matched. So what I see now is everybody's thinking it's time to try something, right? The status quo won't do it. There's 3 guys here who all think they can win. The pieces need to start moving on the board.
Ben Young wouldn't hesitate to tell you that is one of his strongest parts of this racetrack, is that carousel, that long sweeping right-hander that he does so well at, and he gets a really good drive on the back straightaway, and that seems to be a key thing heading into that carousel, is to come off the back straight.
And right now we're in the middle of this whole stop and go, sets of S's, sweepers, pick it up, roll it on and off, not much gear shifting, and you got to be really textbook smooth. It's Jordan Zoke land. He doesn't make very many mistakes, and I haven't seen him make a 1.
Well, witness the fact that Jordan Zoke was winning Superbike races probably before Ben Young was born.
Yeah, we're over 20 years into Jordan's successful career. He's written the records, I think, in any meaningful way. At one point, we thought Steve Crevier's 6 titles were insurmountable, and now Jordan's doubled that. So, Jordan Zoke's in every Hall of Fame, I think. He isn't in the Motorcycle Hall of Fame yet, but I think we saw a stationary yellow there from the start line. So something's happened in this little section here. Yeah, we saw somebody running, so there's a bike down.
Something's gone wrong there. Let's see if we can pick up on just who that is exactly. As again, we look at Young and Trepanier going at it. They're chasing after Jordan Zoke. And I've commented a number of times that there should be some pride in finishing second to the greatest superbike racer this country has ever produced. However, I don't think that sells very well with Mr. Young nor Trepanier.
Well, I think initially you're happy. You're in the ballpark. You're turning those laps. But then it turns into frustration, right? And we've seen so many good riders just, completely lose it, being so frustrated they cannot figure out a way. And even when they think they've got Jordan beat, almost always he ends up winning.
Yeah. And even remember when they brought the Italian rider, look at Ben Young now, picking up draft on that back straightaway. When Cordy came over and it looked like he was going to hand it to Young's gone way wide there. He has left the door wide open for Trepanier, but we don't see the front wheel of Trepanier just yet.
Yeah, Trepanier doesn't have the Bodie Edie move there. He doesn't have the confidence. It's a daring move, but Edie made it work several times. And actually, Jordan was just had a little bobble there, very, very minor, but that helped close it up again. So Young is really close. So for the first time, this is, I think, the closest they've been since the first lap.
We've heard Jordan comment. As a matter of fact, he talked about Shannonville going into turn number 10 at Shannonville, where he said he almost crashed, and Matt McBride was able to pass him. But when you look at the footage, he says he almost crashed, but it sure didn't look like it to me.
No, it was just barely perceptible that he had a problem, and he just doesn't make many mistakes, and it's the recipe to success. It's not always exciting. Now, early in his career, it was typically extremely exciting, but those bikes were scary, might be a safe word to use.
Young's on the move.
Yeah, if you told me at the start of the race that we'd get this far without a pass.
Here we go again. Young way wide, big hole there, but again, no move by Trepanier. What's it going to take for him to open that throttle?
I don't think Young's wide. I think it's just a different line, and Trepanier can make a little bit of time on the entrance, but there's no pass there. He doesn't have the other half of the move that Edie had.
Gotcha. 3 of them running again pretty much the way they did right from lap number 1. And although we've had a couple of seesaw activities between Trepanier, Young, and Zoke, particularly when we saw that lap rider getting closed in on, still nobody's made a move.
Yeah, and it's an interesting battle between the first 2 here. Two of the smoothest professional riders in North America, Jordan Zoke and Ben Young, and they don't make many mistakes. I talk all the time about how precise Ben is, but Jordan has a similar skill set, and I think Jordan's range of what he's willing to consider is very broad because of all the different kinds of riding he does and how good he is on so many different disciplines of motorcycle.
Ben Young and Jordan Zoke getting a little bit of distance on Trepanier that time, that run down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he didn't get the drive, and now he's dangerously close to getting scrubbed off. That's the first time he has not been on top of Young in the carousel.
Yeah. Well, I was going to comment that you were commenting on how smooth these guys are. Oh, there we go. Ben Young has got him, man. He caught me off guard with that one. Beautiful move by Ben Young.
Got into the technical section, picked up the throttle, and that BMW wasn't happy. So that shows you how hard Ben Young concentrated. Here we go on board. We're looking backwards from leader Zoke, and Ben Young is setting up. Right now, he's got the pass in mind, and this is not an easy pass, and it's not a high percentage pass. He's totally committed. He comes up the inside. So Jordan right here, right about this second, Jordan thinks he's safe. So Ben shows him a wheel, but the problem is he's offline, and he has to be so hard on the brakes, and he's right at the limit of what his bike's capable of. Now, this is a great pass, and this is a great pass against a great passer, so that really tells you something. But right here, you can just see that BMW protest. It, Ben was right at the edge of what available traction he had.
Yeah. Beautifully executed pass, so Young really lined that one up, and it looks like he's got a little bit of distance here already. Look at this.
Well, of course, once you got the pass, it's hammer down, right? You got to show that you've got the lap, and hopefully you can demonstrate to Jordan, hey, I've been waiting, and you can't go with me. So that lap, and you can see he's pushing really hard, but what worries me, Frank, is more traffic, and of course that was always going to be a challenge.
Inside, though, Ben Young has still got that fire burning from the fast qualifying, and in fact, he beat Jordan Zoke yesterday in the Dalton Timmis Insurance Super Pole qualifying, so he knows he can beat Zoke, and now he has the lead over him. And as you suggested, Colin, we are indeed coming up on lap riders.
Right, one of our top amateurs from last year, who's a contender for the Rookie Pro honors this season, as we head towards the far end in the back of the drag strip.
JF Oban on the 99 bike. He took the amateur sport bike championship last year, and he's riding on the Suzuki GSXR this year. He's got the GSXR 1000 in his rookie season. Here we go.
I think Oban's holding his line. He's being pretty careful, so no issues there. And you can just see Jordan didn't lose very much, and now Jordan's trying to consider how he might make a pass work, because don't forget, there's no better passer in the series than Jordan Zoke. And Young's done a good job here. He's definitely picked up the pace.
Trepagne's been scrubbed off. Trepagny is not in this race, and I know he's running in third spot, but he's not in this particular contest any longer.
And there's two lappers between second and third now, so that is probably
huge.
Trepagny, he can't go with them through the gaps now, which is a huge loss. On board again with that BMW of Zoke, as he is pushing hard, trying to figure out. Of course, he hasn't seen much of Ben Young. He knows Ben Young can run the lap times because Ben Young took the pole position from the Dalton Timmis session. So the question is, where does Jordan think he can make it work? And he was looking at the carousels. You can see Young spinning the tire a bit, making it turn, and heading onto the straight. Jordan's going to try the slipstream as he drifts right to the very edge of the track.
Wow.
And there you can see we're solidly into the four. It's basically flat. Trepagny 3/10 off, so that's a big difference. And then Leon, Daly, and whatnot, Card are in the fives, which is not bad at all. But definitely that explains why the front is opened up to the degree it has.
Big thing has changed with Zoke that I can see, and he does it with body English. It translates into he gets his head down. You heard riders talk about, I put my head down and I went for, he's got his head down, he's got his elbows out, and that means he's out to do some business here.
And nobody can square up the bike and put the power down and make the tire work and use the traction control to the same degree. You know, he puts so much time into that, and he is really knowledgeable about how to race a modern motorcycle with all the rider aids they have to get the most of them and to use your tire completely during the course of a race.
Well, he's got precious little time to get it done. We've got less than 2 laps to go, but a lap and a half now to go as Young leads, and I believe we got some traffic coming up on the back straightaway now. Here they go. They put those things up straight, and they open the throttle wide open, 200 horsepower on tap, and on board with Young just for, I think we're on board with Zoke there, rather, just for a moment, into the carousel. And again, this is Ben Young's strong point of the racetrack.
Yeah, and Jordan's at his limit now. He's trying all out, and I think, and right in front, there's a battle for position in the midfield between Demray, who's also in contention for the Rookie of the Year, and veteran Milson, who's definitely a fast guy, but they're both on 600s, and they're in their own race.
Jordan Zoke taking the inside line there, and obviously he was not in any position to attempt a pass, but he had that front end pushing just a tad. You could see it start to creep.
And you can see Zoke is riding hard now, really. Yep. He is a guy who doesn't settle, ever. Not till the last split second.
Well, if he's going to win this one, he's going to have to work awful hard because, as we commented, Ben Young, with that inner fire still burning from the Dalton Timmis Insurance Super Pole, and he, like other riders, just pretty much, may I say, fed up. Oh, he didn't get a very good run there.
No, he crossed up the front end and struggled a bit with getting his weight where he wanted it, and now we've got traffic right ahead.
Uh-oh. That would be Ross Milson. Oh, there goes Zoke. Zoke has passed Ben Young, and he just about pushed him off the racetrack there. It looked like, anyways. Now he drifts, and wow, big moment for Zoke there. Holy cow, does he ever want to win this race? Young's right on him. Ben Young now taking us down. Oh, it's over, and Young has lost. Not so much that Jordan won, but Young has lost.
Samuel Trepanier coming through for third, and of course he'll be disappointed he didn't hang in there. And Ben Young, it hurts to get so close to your first win, like basically 2 turns, right?
Yep. We give him credit, though. He acknowledged Jordan as he went by, and that's something that we've not seen sometimes. When a rider gets beat, they get very, very angry, and they don't lose their composure, shall we say. But there it is. Jordan Zoke has won another one, and he's finally won here at Grand Bend.
Ben Young, second. Oh, so close and oh, so frustrating to almost score that first career feature win. Trepanier, a decent third, but frustrated too. Leon moves up to fourth from Daly. Good battle there. Card continuing to climb the ladder on that R1 from Williams. Top 600 because Kazaz on his Yamaha from Bauer and Tremblay. Those last three are three of our front runners from Sportbike. And now let's head to the podium and hear from Frank and our winners.
Samuel, I don't know if you had fun out there racing, but this crowd, myself included, had great fun watching you guys dice.
It was amazing to ride with the boys at the front, and I knew I had the pace. We did a bunch of things last night, and this morning I was really surprised to be in the 03. Really happy to be here. My team and I deserve it after all the work, all the past 3 years been racing, and lots of work.
Braveheart, Ben Young, what a great ride that was. Thrilling to watch you in action.
Yeah, it was good. We didn't really know what to do at the start with the strategy, and so it was just kind of play it by ear, and it just depended on who got away at the front first. So since Jordan got away, I was quite happy to sit behind him and see who was going to lose the grip first. I went to make a few moves on Jordan, then we get caught by yellow flags. I managed to get by him into one, and I was like, okay, it's time to just nurse it home. And we were going into the last lap, and I just wanted to make sure I get a good drive on the back straight, and I kind of tried too hard to get a good drive, and ended up being one of my worst drives. And I tried to go defensive into the carousel, and there's 2 lappers in front of me, and Jordan came up the inside, and I tried to just tuck it back in the inside of him, but he was just in front of me enough that I couldn't get it back, and I tried to square it, but the thing was sliding and wheeling. And we're in it for the long haul and bring this championship to the last race at Mosport and fight for it all the way.
Well, you've done it again, Jordan. You waited to the last minute to pull it off. What an exciting race. Tell us what it was like from behind your handlebars.
Yeah, you know, we just didn't, this morning, we didn't feel like we quite had the setup. I got the start, and I thought, you know what, instead of putting your head down at as fast as you can go, let's just keep a little bit and slow the pace and maybe get most laps led. And I was waiting for Ben, waiting for him, and like you said, there were some yellow flags, so it kind of gave me a little more time to get to that half distance mark. And then he went by and went, okay, let's tag on and see what he's got. He was getting a wonderful drive onto the back straightaway there. And then on the last lap, he bobbled a little on the back straightaway, and I got a good drive, and I was in the draft. And it just looked like he hesitated just that little bit on the lap riders going off the back straightaway, and I went so far right, I didn't even think I was going to make the corner. I just put it on its belly and slid it in there and just missed my apex by only a couple feet. Was waiting to see if he was going to be able to square it up and come underneath me. And when I finally figured that the bike wasn't going to crash, I pinned the throttle as hard as I could to get to the next corner and hang on. You know, Ben really deserved to win it as much as I did there today. He was riding phenomenal.
Ladies and gentlemen, your podium from Mopar Superbike race. Samuel Trepanier in third, Ben Young in second, and Jordan Zoke in first.
With 2 of 7 Mopar CSBK rounds conducted so far this season, Zoke has the points lead, but Young is close, and Trepanier has recovered from his rough weekend at Shannonville. Meanwhile, McBride missed this round, and Leon crashed at Shannonville, so he's marching back through our points. Well, that wraps it up from round 2 here at Grand Bend Motorplex. The next stop on the circuit is Saint-Eustache, Quebec for round 3. On behalf of the entire CSBK crew, this is Frank Wood speaking. Thanks so much for being with us. Take good care, and we'll see you next time. Today's race was brought to you by Dalton Timmis Insurance, Honda, Magneti Morelli offered by Mopar, Drift, and Dunlop.